All right. It did actually go live, so that's good. Uh, Poland is on a deal tomorrow to buy 486 HIMARS systems. The Turkish foreign minister, if Iran takes action against Azerbaijan, the Turkish army will respond quickly. We're quick to respond. Yeah. And Poland will sign a deal with their 400. They're buying everything. I mean, you don't see Poland not buying anything. Poland is about to buy, I think, everything. Turkey's President Erdogan, Biden and I had a quick chat. The F-16 issues also came up. It is not right to link the F-16 issue to Sweden. They say Sweden and Sweden. All right. His approach makes us sad. My answer is that this is him talking. Is that you say everything is about the Congress? My Congress is the Turkish Grand National Assembly. It is not possible for me to say yes to this decision unless it's passed by Turkish Grand National Assembly. Sweden needs to do its part. Yeah. Well, they're not going to be part of. They're not going to be part of the EU if they want to hate Sweden. So, yeah. Ukrainian army has entered Obytani and is now only 3 kilometers away from the Donetsk International Airport. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, they're not going to be able to use them, obviously, for, a lot. Well, they're going to be able to use it eventually, probably. Probably not for a long time, but, you know. Landing a plane there, it's very risky, I would say. If you just took the airport and then say, what we're going to do? We're going to land a plane there. Ukraine, together with Sweden, plan to produce at least 1,000 CV-90s, said the Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine. So, hey, listen, what are we here to hear about? Sorry, what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about this. So, here you go. A group of unknown people from the Belarusian border and Belarusian uniforms attacked Polish border guards, the border service of Poland. A group of 7 people dressed in masks and Belarusian uniform threw stones. So, that's what's happening here, and this is what we're looking at here. Now, a pretty famous story when it comes to war was how the Germans declared war on Poland. Obviously you'd think the Germans, they really just declare war, but actually there was a difference. Which hello, the Polish alleged Polish soldiers one night at a radio stations, opened up fire upon German border guard soldiers, and eventually just soldiers, right? That was the story, and everybody bought that. Well, nobody actually bought it, but, the people of Germany bought it. The people of Germany was told that we were under attack. The German people that were told, oh, we're under attack from the Polish people, we had to respond. Now, in reality, that was actually German soldiers dressed up as Polish border guards and actually fired upon some of their own soldiers. And I believe that there even was death toll. That's how, I believe that some of the people in coincidence was actually Jewish. So they actually dressed up some Jewish people, to participate in this, and they actually killed these Jewish, how could you say, citizens, because they looked a lot like Polish people did. And there wasn't a lot of German soldiers that looked like Polish people because, Aryan race. So, they dressed up a lot of Jewish people who could pass for Polish, dressed them up in his Polish uniform, and actually, had a initial gunfight. And I say this with, bunny ears, my quotation fingers, right? Because initially there wasn't any firefight. They just shot a bunch of them and acted as if, it was Germans being shot. So, and Polish being shot at, it was something. It was something. So it was actually some of the reason as to why they launched that first war. Obviously they wanted to launch the war anyways. It didn't really matter if they faked it or not, but it doesn't matter, But it's the same thing here, and we always know that Russia has this sort of ideology, and I bet that Belarus is going to be copying this. This whole idea of false pretext for a war is something that lies very deep inside these authoritarian regimes who, throughout history, have made these sort of decisions to falsely pretext a some kind of invasion or firefight to, not only enter into a war, but actually, justify the war. So it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, we've had that one from Maersk, and Maersk is a pretty reliable source. And I have another one here, around 21, group around 9, so about an hour ago, an hour and a half ago. Well, actually, I think it's, yeah, you get it. Yeah, an hour ago. So, whatever. A group of 7 people in Belarusian uniform with masks on their faces threw stones at Polish patrol near the Belarusian border with Polish border guards. So these are this is the Belarusian trying to provoke an attack by Polish border guards or something like that, or something, right? And it's crazy. There's no videos of it supposedly. I mean, we do know that there's a lot of cameras along that border, but I haven't gotten a video of it just yet. Hopefully we could get a video of it soon if there is a video. But as of right now, it doesn't appear that there is a video of it. So, we'll keep an eye on it. I'll certainly want to keep an eye on it. This is certainly one of the most pressing news that we have it right here. So, this is pressing news, and I mean, if this is gonna evolve into something here, we don't know. But whatever this is a lot. The fact that they threw stones, which, yeah. There's another update on it as well. This is from Malinda, which is also a pretty reliable source here. According to the Polish side, the attackers had slingshot and flashlights with which they blinded the Poles on patrol. So they used the flashlight to blind them and actually use slingshot. Unsure if this is a attempt to provoke something or if this is generally just some boys night out. But whatever this is a certainly an escalating situation. It certainly means that the Belarusians are ready to say it to say to them that we do this now. This is how grown up we are. We choose to we choose to throw rocks at you. So great stuff. Yeah. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kulba has condemned the lack of progress in setting up a Desire. Hello, how are you? Welcome. Is okay, sorry. Has said the lack of progress in setting up a special tribunal over Russian leaders and transferring frozen assets. Unfortunately, we are a certain deadlock in both issues. We have disagreements on the first issue, and on the second one, we clearly lack the will. He said. So what he said, the lack of progress is setting up a special tribunal on Russian leaders and transferring the frozen assets. Yeah, yeah, something. Money, right? I mean, it's yeah. Russia has started. This is from Flash, by the way. Russia has started to organize its military bases near the Finnish border. Yeah, satellite images show that a large hangar for maintenance and storage equipment have been built on the territory of Al-Kurti garrison and the military warehouse in Petrosavodsk. And at the same time, more and more equipment from Petrosavodsk is being transferred to Ukrainian front. The publication writes. Did I get your link? No. You can't send links in here, gamer. You have to be a mod for that. If you go to my Twitter, or maybe I could. But you can't send links in here. Just tell me if it's a Twitter name you need me to search up. You could do that. So these two bases here, certainly closer to the that one's only 50 kilometers, but they're organizing it. But that one also states that they're being transferred to the Ukrainian front, so maybe they're pulling out the stocks from these far out here. Putin allies ominous threat of nuclear and 9/11 ahead of attacks anniversary. And who did you hear this from, gamer? Are they moving even further away from Ukraine? Where are they going next? The North Pole? Yeah. Yeah. That's actually really great said. That's hilarious. Oh, that's I'm going to the North Pole next. God damn. Alright. So this is what's happening here. Lots of stuff happening. There was another person here. Now, it might be transferring to what you were talking about here, gamer. I just need to know who you heard that from there, gamer, because and a lot of people are trying to spread nuclear propaganda, and I'm not really buying all, most of it. There's a whole lot now. Right now, Turkey and Iran seem hell bent on going to war. Iran seems to be wanting to help Azerbaijan, and Turkey says that it can't help Azerbaijan, or I don't know if it's the other way around, or something like that. Which, it seems a bit weird to me. I'm not completely understanding what the situation here is, but apparently there's a Russian. Okay, so there was a Russian general that has stated that Ukraine was just a stepping stone. So it's a quite big stepping stone. So what they're saying is, oh yeah, there was also reports of exercises between the U.S. and Romanian troops have started in Moldova, which is another thing that they've had on the schedule for a while there, which has just started. The Klaus Johansi, the news called Newsweek. Is that on Twitter or on YouTube? Don't believe everything you hear. Yeah, Putin's always betting on Armageddon. So, don't take what he says too legit. All right, so here we have it. Russian Colonel General Andrei Medvedevich says that war against Ukraine is only a stepping stone, and the Russia will wage war against other countries in Eastern Europe. It's a statement by Colonel General. Europe should listen closely. No, I don't think I'm gonna listen closely because I don't really fucking give a shit what the fuck a colonel says. What do you think it is? You think the colonel's gonna go, actually, we can't take Ukraine? You know, no, he's gonna lose his fucking job. And by the way, he was probably a fucking lieutenant last week. He's a colonel general now. You know, I'm just gonna point out here that no, you know, I'm just saying that this is, you know, yeah. No, it is not just a fucking stepping stone. It's it's stupid what it is. You know, this whole idea behind they're still so hell-bent on the fact that they're trying to sell the story to everyone that it's, oh, we're still just at a stepping stone level. We'll get there soon. What? Russia has repeatedly struck Ukraine using ice cannon missiles, according to Kiev Military Intelligence Agency. These are from, who's the fuck is this? Poodle or... Yeah, listen, I mean, don't believe what you see on the internet, guys. You know, don't believe what you read on the internet, because the fact that the Russian allies saying that they're hell-bent on nuclear line 11 ahead of attack's anniversary is not gonna... It's not gonna... It's not true. So, it's just them trying to scare you into believing that it may be true, and then they can get their agenda going, which is, you know, deterring the West or even us from trying to either support it or anything like that, because they want us to be afraid for nuclear war. So trust me, you know, either way, it's not true. And you know, you're entitled to believe what you want to believe, but I have on strong authority that they're not going to be waging any nuclear war anytime soon, and there won't be a nuclear war in any of the European NATO countries or European countries in general. I believe that there certainly seems to be that Russia is still hell-bent on taking Ukraine. What the follow-ups here is, I can't see myself, you know, I can't see how Russia would even at some point accept the defeat. But yeah, it's I still believe that if we are to keep it cool, we do not throw around the so-called N-word, the nuclear word. So sorry, but don't think that's completely true. And by the way, if it comes from the old Russian president Medvedev, you know, you gotta actually be happy. One thing you gotta say, that you gotta actually kind of be happy that Putin's in power and not Medvedev, because he's even fucking more crazy. Yeah, I mean, I did want to point out that Medvedev, you know, the old Russian prime minister right before Putin took over, the old president. Putin was president, then Medvedev took over, and then Putin came back because he couldn't figure out how to do it, you know. And he's a crazy, idiotic idiot who doesn't know anything about governing. Why do you think Putin replaced him? You know, I'm just saying, you know. A 17-year-old Ukrainian Olenska Shchelenskakov was recognized as the best athlete at the World Junior Swimming Championships. Selenka won 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal at the 2023 World Championships, and also updated on 2 Ukrainian records, 15 and 100 meters backstrokes. Wow. Just rolling ahead for Ukraine here. He's like, everything they do is just fucking amazing, isn't it? Defy all odds, that's what they are. You know, Ukraine, they're very proud people. You know, you gotta think twice before saying anything to them. And they were proud people before, you know, the whole idea of Russia attacking them. Military exercises involving U.S. Romania troops have started in Moldova. This is reported by the Minister of Defense of Moldova. The exercises, which will last until September 22, include infantry, artillery, firing, and aimed at developing capabilities, increasing interoperational between the participating army. The statement says. Right. Yeah. And they're exercising in Moldova. I think it's the, yeah. So attackums going to Ukraine. By the way, attackums. So let me get you something else here. Let's get the flights trader up here and let's take a look. See what we got for you today. We have a Russian plane. That's a transport plane right there. RDS. It's flown up before. Pretty much standard long range, I think. Two of these ones right here. Two of you guys. Looks like transport planes. I don't know. Oh, Snoop. That's the RC. Is that the, oh, that's not the nuke sniffer. No, that's VC. Yeah, the difference between the VC and the RC. RC is river joint. That's just a river joint. Well, it's not just a river joint, but you know. The VC is a completely different thing, you know. Certainly is. AN-24, Antonov. There you go. Q. We got what is that? Boeing 747? Yeah. A tanker and a 747 down here as well. Yeah. Took off from Georgia, or took off from United Emirates, sorry. AM-124. A bunch of tankers, it appears. Maybe some civilians. Yeah, we got a river joint. We got a we got river joint 133V. We have a tanker, some DCs, some Boeings all over. Albatross, L39. That's an Albatross. Hello. There's shots. We're gonna shots going off in the background there. Kind of sound like a pre-burst automatic, but there maybe. You know how they burst the guns there on the 50 cals? If it was. Oh yeah, you guys weren't able to see. I'm bad. My bad. All right, we'll go over it again. I mean, we won't really have to. I explained it. You know, two Russian planes over here. We got the Tupolev 214 RSD. These guys are just standard long-range pattern plane. Although I do agree that it's weird that they have two going up here, but it's whatever's right. And we got tankers and civilians. But you do have a special civilians thing going on over here. We have the Snoop over here and taking off from a Japanese island here, heading out towards the Chinese, or how would you say, the Philippine Sea. Is that what it's called? The Philippine Sea? Filipina Sea. I don't know. Kind of seems like it, right? But yeah, pretty cool. So 88 speed here. Let's check it all out. Let's see what they got on 88 speed. Oh yeah. Look at that kind of bursting going on there in the background, some kind of fire. If we're hearing that, and they're getting it closer, I don't know if it's the Russians or the Ukrainians there. Well, listen to that right there. Definitely got shots going off in the background. You know, if they're firing from automatics, they're getting closer. Certainly is. I mean, that's Donetsk right there, and they're making some push in the Donetsk region. That could be that what we're hearing, right? Could be defense from the Russian side then, but yeah, let's keep an eye on it, or listen on it, you know. All right. Well, it is a Sunday, and we got Boeing RC 145. That's a river joint. That's one we saw before, I think. The DC, we have some 737 P8s, maybe. No, not a lot of. Yeah, we got some P8s over there. Not a lot of civilians. There's just it looks like a normal Sunday to me. Yeah, the most pressing news are probably these stone throwings by what appears to have been a 747. Oh, is that like the South Korean version of It went over China there, landed in South Korea. Japan military. South Korean military. Pretty cool, pretty cool. All right. Probably some kind of delegation thing going on there or whatever. Both took off from India from the same place, actually. Some kind of referenda. G20? G20, you think, maybe? Are they going home now? I think G20, by the way. I was talking about yesterday that India changed their name to Bharat. Well, they changed the name to Bharat, but in India, in Hindu, Bharat means country. So it's kind of weird that they've changed their name to country. No, but I'm just saying, like, they've changed their name to, oh yeah, what's your name's country? What's your country's name? It's country. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a country, but what's your country's name? It's a country. Yeah, but what's the name? Country. No, but they're officially wanting us to call it Bharat, which, you know, I mean, I don't know how to feel about it, but what ifs. It's yeah, it's up to them. It's up to them what they want to call that country, and we're not gonna interfere with that. You know, it's a small thing. Well, I mean, it's certainly, you know, addressing wise, you know, calling country something else is certainly going to be a hard thing to remember. But I think they wouldn't be, you know, mad if you accidentally said Bharat. I don't think they're going to be coming after you just because. But you know, it's up with them. It's up with them. So we got it going on there. Yeah, there's been multiple drone attacks here over the nights, and there was drone attacks yesterday in Kyiv, led some people to have been injured. The Romania, talked about that yesterday, found a second wreckage, talking about that one of the drone. So yeah. So we got some other things. We have the escaped convict that escaped a high maximum security prison in the U.S. has been found and has been detained again. For some fucking reason, he managed to get a car, a full set of clothes, well, I don't know if he took a shower, but he's clean shaved and actually got a haircut. So he had a backpack, and you know, to note out here is this is how he went. This is how he went out looking. So this is how he went out looking, right? He went out. This is when he got out of the prison, right there. You know, completely, you know, really, ominous, and this is when he came back, which appears to have been him now clean shaved with a fresh pair of clothes, or at least a somewhat fresh pair of clothes. Looks like the pants are still the same, but yeah, he was on the run for a while there, breaking into homes, checking out security dash cams. Look at that, he was on a dash camera that was caught by a teenager. He's a very disturbed individual, by the way. I don't want to point that out. He's a very disturbed individual. Do not, you know, don't get fooled by his maturing nature. Look at that. Look at the look in his eyes right there as well. Very a pretty disturbed individual, I'd say. He's not someone you want to mess around with, because he and a car, which he apparently, I don't know, bought or stole or something like that. But he's in custody. Have been taken back to prison, I believe, and he's probably going to be kept a better eye on. So we're good for now. All right. Well, there was some other things I want to say to you guys. The Klaus Lohannes has reported here, I strongly condemn the violence of our sovereign airspace, which is a threat to Romanian citizens in the area. NATO SecGen expressed full solidarity of the alliance and of the allies for Romania, which is fully protected and benefits from the highest security guarantees in history, which is what Klaus Lohannes has tweeted. He's the PM of Romania, which is I was about to say, which is a country. Of course, you know it's a country. Like, I was about to explain the whole fucking thing to you right there. Yeah, we got the pictures of what we saw yesterday, that big ass explosion, which was what we saw happening there, and that's uncovered and should be fine. Blast shook the key for nearly 2 hours. 26 out of 32 drones intercepted. Debris rained down on several several central districts. The only thing Russia achieved, more people this morning. Yeah, okay. Pictures coming in for that. There are some, so we got multiple pictures. This is the same pictures that they've been uploading here. As a result of, and this is the image that we saw. I think this right here. By the way, this is not white phosphor. I thought for the moment that when I looked at it, it looked like white phosphor. I'm pretty sure it's just the debris from the rocket intercepting the drone there. But yeah, it looked like white phosphor. You know, can't blame you, right? For a second, I thought it was gonna be magnesium or something like that. You know, one of those things to blow up right there. So as a result of the last night, 4 people injured and minor injuries. So not a lot of brain injuries. Could be from a shockwave alone. I don't know. In urban device, his master. Okay. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said that Hungarian government has plans to switch Pak's nuclear power plant from Russian to French nuclear fuel in the future. Yeah. And that's just got more expensive, by the way. Yeah, so that just got more expensive as well. So, all right. Well, that's pretty good. We're getting there. I'm gonna get you the update on Hurricane Lee as it's been coming in over the Atlantic here, and we're keeping a close eye on Hurricane Lee as it's been coming one of the dangerous threats to security. It is a Hurricane 5 hurricane. It's a Category 5 hurricane, which is a serious thing, and it is huge. So we're going to keep an eye on it and make sure that you guys are updated, those who are residing in the U.S., and just in general, we're going to keep you guys updated. We're going to get you NBC News here with a update from 1 day ago. Should be good enough.
If you live along the East Coast, you may already have an eye open for that monster Hurricane Lee. Its explosive growth from a Category 1 to a major Category 5 hurricane in just 12 hours yesterday has forecasters in awe. Now back down to a Category 4, Lee is the most powerful storm so far in the Atlantic hurricane season. At one point, driving wind gusts of 165 miles per hour. But it's Lee's potential path that has some folks on edge. Expected to swing well past the U.S. mainland, but ready to deliver a calling card of dangerous surf conditions up and down the coast this coming week. But tonight, for 50 million people in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, from D.C. to Boston, the more immediate threat comes from severe thunderstorms and heavy downpours. Bill Cairns is here with the very latest. What are you seeing, Bill?
Well, good evening to you, Lester. And this is going to be a major hurricane for at least the next 5 days. And then it's going to slow down. And the big question is what happens about the middle of next week. So now the storm's at 13 miles per hour. It's going to miss all land areas over the next 5 days, just sending large waves to a lot of the islands in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and eventually Florida. But sometime on Wednesday, it's going to take that turn to the north. If it's an earlier turn, our friends in Bermuda will have to deal with Lee. If it's a later turn, possibly up to the Canadian Maritimes. If it's a late turn, maybe even heading somewhere near the Northeast, possibly Maine or maybe Cape Cod. So that's kind of the big question as we head through the weekend. We've also been dealing with a lot of severe weather, 150,000 people without power. We've had damaging winds. We've had 2-inch large hail throughout the Northeast, and airport delays have been widespread from Washington, D.C. to New York, all the way up to Boston. Some are averaging 1 to 2 hour delays at the current time. These thunderstorms have peaked in the high humidity. It will cool things off for the weekend, but we paid a price for it this evening.
All right, Bill, thanks very much for that. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us.
Yeah, that was fast. All right. Well, you got it. It's actually gone down to Hurricane 3, which is good. Previous predictions said it was going to stay on Hurricane 4, so it's spreading down to Hurricane 3. Still wide. I mean, some people are stating the 1,000-mile radius, which is a huge hurricane, but as of the moment, not to worry, I think. Not to worry. The French embassy in Armenia asked French citizens to stay away from the Sunik province in the south. some Azeris, Azerbaijans, believes the region was wrongly given to Armenia by Soviet Russia in 1921. An exodus of Azeris took place in 1987 to 1989. Some Azeris argue it's time to take it back. Well, this is our country. Reminds me of when Hitler was allowed to take the Sudetenland, and he promised not to invade the rest of Czechoslovakia, you know, which he obviously ended up invading anyways. So there was previously spotted tires on top of a Tu something bomber. I don't know, 200, I don't know. And then they're making memes about it now. They're putting tires on jets, they're saying, and now they're putting tires on, guess what? Cars. It's Photoshop, yes, but it's still hilarious. It's a great time. It's a great time.
Yes, I didn't see that. Where did he come from?
Oh my God, look at it.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
DC-10 air tanker fighting wildfire? Dude, look at that shit. Oh, would you look at that? Look at that. DC-10 fighting wildfire. You're thinking like, oh, here's the wild fighting plane. No, oh, there it is. God damn, that's a big ass plane. You hear it getting closer as well.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Previously also known as the so-called death trap. Titans from the third wave OSHBR continue to advance in the direction of Andrikov, Kurt Ivica along the railway, yes. Hunting down a group of Russian infantry along the M12 Rapira cannon. All right. A lot of just the cannon videos. I could go through it. I'm not really gonna, because I mean I can continue to go through it. You know, overall it's the news that we want. But yeah. Hi Patrick. Oh yeah, and F-16s may start to operate in Ukraine earlier than expected. Ukraine expect the Ukrainian pilots on the F-16 jets to start performing combat missions in as early as this winter. This is reported by the Wall Street Journal. So this is great news coming in here from the Ukrainian flight program here on the F-16s. Great stuff. Ukrainian artillery hit and destroyed MLRS firing positions of Russian forces northwest of town of Tokmak. Absolutely, the entire front line works for them. Bunadov reacted to the scandal with the shutdown of the Starlink near Crimea I personally am not sure that Elon Musk operated some mythical buttons and stopped the movement of some devices. This is my personal opinion. Said the head of the main intelligence department of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. At the same time, he confirmed that Starlink had not worked near Crimea for some time. The fact that Starlink systems did not work for a certain time near Crimea, I can absolutely confirm because we also used a certain technique. We immediately understood that there was simply no coverage there. That's probably all I can tell you. Yeah, and that's news coming in there. The seer working in Ukraine. This is the Danish provided. One of them was destroyed, but yeah, still going. Sick. Hello, welcome in. God damn. I've worked with wood, or I've worked with garden all day, and I got a little bit of an allergy going on there, so I think I've breathed a lot of it in, so my lungs are a bit fucked right now, and that's why I'm breathing a bit heavy. like, like it's I got a little bit of allergic react. Well, I wouldn't say allergic, but I'm not completely unallergic for it. So yeah. So if you hear me breathing a bit more heavily, I'm not fat. Just a little bit it's a little bit stuffed on the nose. So struggling getting the air through there. I think I breathed a lot of pollen today. I was standing on top of a container, jumping up and down to just try and compress some fucking leaves and like sticks and stuff like that from, because we had a hedge cut down, which was fun times. So great stuff. Here we have it. Medivh uses his... Yeah, it was from Medivh, wasn't it? How did I call it out? I said, Balbo, you're talking about a 9/11 nuclear, and I knew for the second when you said it, I said it's from Medivh, the fucking craziest motherfucker ever. He's an idiot, you know, and he's so fucking out of touch with reality. He's the one who said it. I fucking knew he was the one who said it. So here's the report. Medivh uses the tragic of the upcoming 9/11 anniversary to make threats towards the West. The rhetoric of the former Russian has series of words. It's a long ass fucking list here. I'm not gonna read that. God damn. He's just, yeah. God damn. I'm not gonna retweet that. I'll even read that too much. It's way too much. But I knew he was gonna do it. I knew. Not only did I know it was him when it came to that, but yeah, he has no morals or respect or anything. He's a crazy idiot. He really is. Russia has deployed 46 launchers of AS-cannon missile along the border with Ukraine. The deputy of head of security minister Vladimir said. He added these complexes are aimed at civilian infrastructure objects. High is like a clock. You mean he? He's like a clock. Alright, round and round, yeah. He's so out of touch with reality, which is insane, you know? So out of reality. Yeah, there was rocks thrown at Polish border guards by Belarusian masked men. That was apparently also in Belarusian. How would you put it? Belarusian clothes, uniforms. There we go. Yeah, I can't really say any more because I don't really know much more. I know that they were blinded by a flashlight, blinded at pointed at them by these so-called Belarusians in uniform that apparently then used slingshots to fire at them. So, yeah, it's it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to believe and it's a lot to put in. So yeah, I fucking don't really know. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. We don't really have any pictures of it or anything like that to completely confirm it, although I know that there are quite a lot of those going on there. I think he's going to fret about nuclear attack every single day. If you ever have any important days coming up, anything important, anything important that's gonna, have impact upon your country, that's an important day for your country. He's gonna be there to warn you about nuking you on that specific day. It's the it's tomorrow, 11 night, so it's tomorrow. Yeah, we're certainly gonna have like a moment of silence tomorrow. I think is worth it. It was a tragic event called out by a bunch of people who didn't like the U.S. and never understood it. It's one thing to hate someone; it's another to kill them because you hate them. It's never okay to enact violence just because you hate someone. There's other ways to things. There's other ways to do things. It's better to be smart about some things than it is to act on your aggressions. But these extremist people who very likely Osama bin Laden, you know. Although we all know at this point that Osama bin Laden, for the first of it, didn't really have anything to do with it. Everybody keeps saying that he had, but what was the point of it was that he didn't have the fucking resources to do it, but he claimed them because somebody paid him to claim it, Of course, any terrorist ever, if some massive attack comes off and nobody claims it, they're gonna claim it was them. Because how can you prove it wrong, But it just so happened that was his last wishes. So, SEAL Team 6 for life, baby. What was that? Navy SEALs? I can't remember. Review. I got river go. Yeah, 9/11 is a tricky one. What the fuck? Oh.
LGBTQ plus activists from both countries are marching together for queer rights. The cross-border
RFD supports march through streets of East Germany demanding Germany leave the EU and shut down border with Poland. Huh? All right. AFD supporters march through streets of East Germany demanding Germany leave the EU and shut down border with Poland. Right, yeah. Because that's going to happen. Flashpoint. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, does Germany have some wanting to maybe leave? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brussels is certainly the headquarters of the EU, but I believe that there's a headquarter of the EU inside Germany, which Germany is benefiting a lot of being the heart of Europe. You know, so leaving the EU, I don't know. Seems like a drastic move. Right. Now, other than that, guys, there's not a lot going on. I've talked about most things going on. Not really a lot going on. I mean, we got flooding going on. No. Anybody else heard of something? Anybody heard of anything special going on here? I mean, again, I'm probably gonna go find it. I'm searching throughout if there's anything we want to talk about here. Well, we have the death toll of the. I said this yesterday that it was going to be more, but we have the death toll of the Morocco earthquake. Death toll tops 2,100. At least 2,420 people have injured and missing are being searched for under numerous rubble. The epicenter of the quake, according to various reports, was at a depth of 11 to 18 kilometers in the Atlas Mountains. Morocco survivors seek aid as earthquake toll passes 2,100. Yeah, we need to get some help down there, set up some centers. We need to allocate some of that humanitarian aid. I mean, we got a lot of stuff right now when it comes to humanitarian aid. Yeah, we need to send some stuff down there to help them out, get them figured out. Russia has begun building protective structure around airplanes. Russian media. The structure is reportedly similar to anti-drone nest. Earlier, tires were placed around planes of Angels Air Base. Yes, because that's gonna stop a drone. What? What do you think? Yeah, because that's gonna stop a drone. This is all. Human disasters all day after day. Yeah, it's funny because there was Elon Musk once said he once stated, you know, it can't just always be bad. It's as if there's nothing good going on in the world, because all he, you know, and I do agree with that, because it's as if the governments, you know, they're never reporting anything good anymore. Either they just don't have anything good to say, or, you know, there's just nothing good going on. Because all I hear is this humanitarian. You know, humanitarian. You know, honest to God, I wish for just one time that news medias were actually right about something good, something happening around the world, instead of just writing about disasters. But the human nature is just curious, and human nature wants drama, and that's why we, you know, they wanna. If they want to get the most money, they have to write about drama. They have to write around about, you know, that disasters, you know. Yeah. And South Korea has also pledged 2.3 billion in aid to Ukraine. Supported by Yonhap agency, 300 million was directly to humanitarian needs in 2024 and remained 2 billion in 2025. A long-term aid to support socio-economic infrastructure. Fair enough. What do I think about Elon turning off Starlink? Well, I think it perhaps is his ideologies. I don't know. I mean, listen, Elon is a, Starlink is a privately owned company, and we can't control what he does with his stuff. I don't particularly like the fact that he turned off the Starlink to help not help, but I think it's also one thing to have a company. I think in Elon's mind, what he's actively helping, is seeing people die. Elon is a staunch believer in the humanitarian humans living on, and that's why he's launching space, he's launching all this stuff, and he's a big believer into humans living on past just war. I think he's staunchly anti-war. I think Elon is very anti-war. I think it's hard to know that what you have built, Starlink, is helping people die, despite the fact that it's the Russians and its ships. These ships are being used to target infrastructure inside Ukraine where people then dying. So it's a 50-50 thing, right? It's a hard thing, I mean, he could potentially not have done that and saved a lot of civilians, which is one thing, right? You have to maybe put it into perspective. Look at Eisenhower. Not Eisenhower. What's his name? Oppenheimer. Because when you think about it, Oppenheimer, he potentially saved millions, with his nuclear bomb, but he also killed thousands. Thousands upon thousands with his nuclear bombs. And the reason why we are nowadays so close to Armageddon is because of him, because he invented this nuclear bomb. I mean, I'm just pointing out here that sometimes it's hard to know that what you are inventing and what you have invented is a level of destruction that's at one swoop killed millions. Do I think Elon is the wrong side of history? I think I think you'd be wrong to assume that he's on the wrong side. I also think you'd be wrong to assume that Elon isn't in support of this war ending. But I think he's going to be a controversial figure in this side of history, because but we also have to point out, up until now, Starlink has been helping Ukraine, and they're still helping Ukraine, and they're still doing it to this day. So we also have to maybe look into the fact that, he's partially on the good side. I mean, it's a very controversial move to make, to turn off Starlink. So, I don't know, Patrick. It's a controversial thing, I think you have to put yourself in his shoes, knowing that your company is responsible for the millions of, not millions, but maybe thousands of deaths, or, but, yeah, I've got no idea if he's doing it out of ideology. Yeah, that's what you're doing, yeah. But I don't know if he's doing it out of ideology or if he's doing it for money. I don't think he's doing it for money, because he's got enough money. We all know that. I mean, and Russia, by the way, is not a big market when it comes to electrical cars. People think that people are buying cars and Teslas, in Russia. They're not. They don't buy Teslas in Russia, and he certainly does not have properties, and he certainly has nothing. He has pretty much no business in Russia. He's bought some rockets and stuff like that from Russia, which is one thing that he wants to continue to have. But yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, it's yeah, you can't really say if you're on his side or not, right? I think we're very quick to judge nowadays. I think we we gotta step back and maybe just look at the situation from the outside. I'm for the chips. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I don't know. He's a controversial guy, isn't he? But you know, yeah. I do want to point out that while he was helping, Starlink, while he was helping Ukraine, the U.S. was being incredibly, I wouldn't necessarily say mean, but I'd say that they were being very, were we being very supportive, were they? They were not really being very, how would you say, supportive, or even in any way they were being, helpful in this situation, that you have a private company here helping you out, and they weren't, they're saying to him, oh, please help us out, or thank you for this, or stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of thank you notes from the U.S. either, or Ukraine. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't believe he's on the good side when it comes to the fact that he turned off the rocket. But, in all things considered, we'll have to see. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to think. Really, right now. Fuck me. Alright, well, we have to bring it to you. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that there has been developments. Elon for the President of the United States. Well, I don't know. I mean, that's probably up to him, I think he'd certainly know how to make some money. And one thing with Elon, he'd certainly know how to make some money, I think. But he's also a bit robotic, isn't he? I mean, I just think he's a bit robotic, isn't he? He's very robotic. The questions, the way he answers things, he's so robotic, you have to, it's so weird, but it doesn't matter. Okay, well, we have to report on this, and it is something that I have been concerned about, which is, one thing I'm a little weirded out here is why the Ukrainians are attacking in such ways as they are attacking now. Now, I did want them to attack like they are now, but I did say, when I said it I said it some time ago, I actually have a message to prove that I said it, that they needed to, go back. When the first counteroffensive didn't go as planned, I said they need to go back, need to relaunch, rethink, get some good guys on it. And that's exactly what they did. They actually did exactly what I said they were going to do. Am I smart? No, I'm just amazingly smart. No. And they did that. And I think, and then this, the offensive here started, and they would not have been doing great. What has happened throughout today is that there has been a development on the front lines, as we are seeing here. This is the latest development. As I saw yesterday, there was pushes from the Ukrainians to the inside of this area over here. Now, what I was afraid of is that if you are, making a line for it, you're making a bulk, right? And if you don't protect your sides good enough, you're gonna have something like this happen, in where the enemy, who, by the way, is on this side, and on this side, are gonna try to attack from each side. The Ukrainian plans was to put so much pressure on the Russian front line that the Russians weren't gonna have enough men to reroute and put away on the other side. But the problem is that they haven't secured a distraction. Well, what do I mean by distraction? They haven't secured some sort of extra line launch that's going to spread out the forces. They have only gone for one place, which means they can very easily see that this situation over here is not moving. Okay, we got the situation over here. This is where they've made pushes, so we can reroute some of these forces here. We can reroute them over here, and we can take some of that stuff and we can push on a flank that is weaker on the side. No matter what you do, the flank is always going to be weaker. The Germans in World War II was the one to perfect this design of blind front sort of bulk warfare. They called it the Blitzkrieg, but this is not exactly what I would call it, Blitzkrieg. The Germans, in a way, would look like the Russians are right now, where they would spread around the enemy and attack them from the side. That's the Blitzkrieg effort, where they would trap, Ukrainian soldiers on the inside. But the worries that I have had is that there was going to be attacks from the Russians on the side here. Now, we don't know if this was a miscount by Deep State, who thought that maybe this area was taken, but in fact wasn't. Or, in fact, if the Russians have pushed them here. The Ukrainians have to be incredibly careful. The Ukrainians are an experienced army by now. They are experienced, but we have soldiers coming in that are NATO trained. They're professional soldiers. They're good. They're just not as experienced as they got the other ones. And if we're having supplies issues, but I don't think they have supplies issues, I maybe think that, yes, they're going forward, but they're going forward too slow. They're too slow right now, which is a problem. Because if you're too slow and you're being, you're spending a lot of resources keeping a front, that is bulked into a line where you have enemy all around, it's a hard battle. And what happens is if you actually are starting to have Russian, despite how bad they are, because the Russians are not a good force. It's not me sitting here, defending the Russians. I would never do that. But despite how bad an enemy is, an enemy can always launch. This is the Russian problem. They use volume over quality. And if they launch so many men against a line that is stretched out to fight along a line that is stretched out, not mind the factor that the Russians are probably also stretched out. But the Ukrainians has miscounted that the Russians were not going to move soldiers to that front. If I believe that this could be a form of distraction, I don't know. But I haven't seen that the Ukrainians are focusing different efforts. Now, what I think the Ukrainians has miscounted is that they thought they would make one big attack, one area, we're going to break through the Russian lines. But the only problem with the way that they're attacking now, it just seems to me that what they're trying to do is go through these defensive lines here. And that works. That's going to work for you if you get past them. But even the most shittiest of shittiest armies are going to be able to fight on a trench line conduct. Because trench lines, you're just going to have to fire straight ahead if the enemy comes at you. So even the shittiest of the shittiest army, which is Russian, they're shit, Every single one of them barely has seen a rifle, and many of them barely have bullets or barely have seen a rifle, but they have protection. They have the advantage of sitting in a trench, firing straight ahead. Heavily fortified defenses, might I add. So, yes, I believe that the Ukrainians may have faced step backs. It happens, but this is too much of a step back. This is too much. This cannot happen. Because if the Russians break that line, if the Russians are putting too much pressure on them, that means that this line down here now going to have to face both up here. Instead of facing straight ahead, they're going to have to face two front. Now, if the Russians, who are now fighting on open fields here, they're not a good army, and this could be a failed counterattack that could potentially fail. And in all honesty, I don't think they're going to be able to push this through. I believe that hopefully the Ukrainians are going to be able to hold this bulk line right here and break through the Russian defenses. But they have to be careful because they also have to remind themselves that the more they break through, the larger that line becomes, the larger that bulk becomes, and the more you have to stretch out forces to fight on both fronts. Now, if you would have said, okay, let's attack with the sea to our back, is that a good idea? That's also a bad idea because imagine if they cut you off here, right? What are you gonna do now? You got the sea to your back, and sure, if they could have had evacuation options. What happened in Dunkirk, for example? You know, so I think maybe I don't think it's a calculated attack. I just think that the Ukrainians are possibly stretching out forces longer than they could stretch them out because they didn't expect the fight to go on for this long. They actually, I believe that the high command, you know, look at what happened. They fired their defense chief. I believe that the Ukrainians are realizing that perhaps they're breaking through too slowly. They have made great progress and they're doing great, but the fact that they're not able to push back some of these Russian forces, you know, in these areas means that the Russians are going to not only be able to fortify themselves in these positions. We're going to have to see what the developments are of this situation right here. I still believe that the Ukrainians have the upper hand, but the Ukrainians have to be incredibly careful not to let the Russians break through on their left, well, the thing you're looking at that right now is the right flank, but for them it's the left flank, right? Because they're facing this way, and, you know, for them it's the left flank. If the Russian makes headway on the left flank, not only are we talking about, you know, encroaching on a Ukrainian line, so the Ukrainians are going to have to either reroute forces back to fight off this bulk, which is going to take forces away from the front line, or they're going to have to simply take out, which would be a major blow. But I believe that perhaps the Ukrainians are going to be able to push this back. The best options for the Ukrainians is to push that bulk back. They have to push the Russian bulk back. If they don't push this line back right here, they allow the Russians to break through even more. We have a very dangerous situation on our hand because the main of the Ukrainian army is here. They are here right now. They're stretched out along that line right there, you know, the whole line right now. This is where they're stretched out. We know that because, you know, that's how you have to defend. If you're fighting such a war, that's how you're going to have to defend it. So yes, I believe that the Ukrainians are still holding very fastly. They just have to be careful because if they're not breaking through fast enough, it's going to give the Russians time to send more troops. Again, volume over quality. And no matter what, the most shittiest army, if they send wave after wave and volume after you, eventually there's going to be some kind of break. You know, and it's terrible, you know, and we're talking about this push right here, which looks close to maybe 1.6 kilometers, close to 1.6 or 7. And they have to be careful. They have to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because not only right now are the forces that was fighting here before, you know, our beliefs are that the Ukrainians and the Russians, you know, the fighting is going on right here, right? And this is supposedly what you would call no man's land, a non-contested area. This is what the advances, that is the so-called advances. This is the onshore. This is the areas that are onshore, uncontested areas, which means neither side technically owns them, but it is said to have made sure that the Ukrainians are pushing on this front. Now, we knew this was happening for a while, you know, and this area, for example, was taken, you know, way back. It's a far, far back when that area was taken, you know. We have to go, I mean, almost close to a month back to when this area, little road here was taken. And let's take a look at this Ukrainian offensive that's actually been going on for about a month now. Here in Robotan, where they've made actual advances throughout, you know, the whole of August and September. So check this out. This is when they started. You know, we'll play on it here, and you can perhaps get to see what happened throughout. Okay, maybe fast it up just a tiny bit. So here you have it. Now it's happening. They're pushing. You know, you see there's some small pushes over here as well, but they were pushing. So check that out. They were pushing over here. They were making some headway over here as well, which was a great advances over here. And then they pushed back on that small area over there. Small counteroffensives from the Russians there. And these times here where they were making great headway throughout the Russian fronts. The Russians managed to take back that, and they were making, you know, day by day headway through the Russian front. And I remember watching when they got through some of the first lines here, which was the major news of when they got through that first line there. That area there with the main road there was taken. They're pushing. And now we got to that last front here. We're going to have to keep an eye on this area. Hopefully tomorrow or today they have made advances to take back this area. Or, you know, we have to make sure that the Russians are not pushing forward over here. You know, then we're going to create a dangerous situation, which I hope is not going to happen. So just to point it out, you know. Listen, I'm not trying to be unfair here. It seems nowadays, you know, you report on legitimate news here, and you report on the legitimate things that's happening, and then you're called a pro-Russian just because, you know, you sit here and you say that the Ukrainians have to be careful not to be encircled by the enemy, you know, and then you're pro-Russian. No, I'm not pro-Russian. I am fucking idealist. Okay, I'm optimistic about everything that goes on within Ukraine. I am totally on board with everything that Ukraine wants. I'm a pro-Ukrainian, but I am also a realist. Someone who realizes situations and tries to explain them to the best of his ability, because I understand that situations can happen without you wanting them to happen. Sometimes even the worst of the worst ideas can happen. It is not a matter of Ukraine being shit at war. It is a matter of counteroffensives. Ukraine is a formidable force, a fighting spirit that I've never seen step foot of this planet before. Fighting folk has made headway unlike anything, held the line against the Russians, who up until, you know, now, you know, back, you know, a year ago, was thought to have been the second best army in the world. They're still the second best army in Ukraine, you know. So yeah, there was the Russian freedom fighter. So actually, at one point, they were the third best army, right? Yeah, it's hilarious. Oh, it's so great, isn't it? Yeah, so they're still reporting about this slingshot attack at the border of Poland. This is a very weird event here that, you know, apparently there was some sort of attack by masked men with slingshots that tried to attack. I mean, I just don't, you know, they said no one was hurt, which is a good thing, but yeah, it's, you know, it's like it's a weird situation in general, isn't it? You know? Okay, somebody drifting there. Boris Johnson received an honorary doctorate from Ivan Franko Levy National University during his visit to Ukraine. Right. Because this man right here looks like a man that deserves a fucking doctorate. You know what he looks like right now? He looks like one of those real old English folk. He is English, by the way, but look at that. That is... Yeah, he looks like he's just got nothing there. Rejection of the threat of strike UAV is reported by the Air Force, Armed Forces of Ukraine, Air Force. Polish border guard. We have Flash reporting about it now, so it's got to be true, you know. Oh yeah, I was swinging. I read it before. Border guard, side on the border. They were wearing masks and Belarusian uniforms. According to the Polish side, attackers had slingshot and torches, flashlights, which they used to blind the patrolmen. No one was injured. They didn't have torches. They had flashlights. I think he's called torches, you know, like flashlight. I don't know. So that's the news there. I mean, we're gonna have to see the Polish reaction to it. Don't think there's gonna be any. Of course, if there's further development or further Belarusian tries at escalating a situation, we're gonna have to keep an eye on it. But it certainly seems to me that no matter what, they're keeping an eye on it. But they certainly also seem to have their handfuls with some bullies from the west there. Sorry, the east or the border, the border, or whatever, something like that. Yeah, it's a lot right now. I mean, it's they obviously have to take it back and realize that perhaps a bunch of slingshots and a flashlight from, you know, whoever it was is not worth going to war over. I actually don't think it's gonna have to be Russians. I think it's no matter what, it's gonna it's probably Wagner if it's anything. You know, I'd imagine it was Wagner if it was anything or anybody. And since they didn't have guns and they were given slingshots, I don't know if they're trying to, you know, provoke the Polish to, well, I guess Russians, right? But yeah. All right, see you later, Desire. Have a good night. So I guess, yeah. I mean, Russian or Belarusians or Wagners, right? Yeah. It was a lot. But, you know, false flag, sure. I mean, it wasn't really, that is not really, you know, the whole idea behind false flag. I think Belarus is very much on board with it all. It's just the implication that they were using slingshots. I think they're trying to justify going against Poland. If Poland fires upon a bunch of people with slingshots, slingshots is not classified as an arms when in war terms. Slingshots are not classified as bearing arms. Well, I don't know if they are, but you know, maybe they were trying to provoke the Polish troops to shoot at them. They were masked, by the way, which is another point. They were masked, right? Which is another point that, you know, that they didn't want them to know who they were, which is another thing. And of course they don't, but you know, I can imagine Lukashenko was one of them. Putin was probably also there. Let's go troll the Let's go troll the Polish, Lukashenko. Oh yeah, dude, come on. Yeah, totally, dude. Right? It's fucking Lukashenko, Putin. Come on, dude. Let's go troll the Polish. Yeah, totally, dude. What are we gonna do? We gotta throw a slingshot at him. You got a fucking flashlight? Yeah, can I invite some of my people with me? Yeah, I'm gonna invite like Medvedev. I'm gonna get Shogi. I'm gonna get all my guys. We're gonna have a blast, dude. You got some vodka? Do I have vodka? I'm Russian. Of course I got vodka. Alright. Best buds. Yeah. No, but it's a weird situation. They had more vodka than the entire, you know, Soviet Union had. Do you guys know that the Soviet Union ran out of vodka during the celebration of the Second World War? You gotta know that it's not even a fucking joke. The Russians actually ran out of vodka during the celebration of when they won World War II, because they had so many fucking soldiers and citizens drinking vodka. It was so insane, you know. I mean, they were all over the place. St. Petersburg was just a bunch of people drinking fucking vodka, having a fucking blast. I would actually have liked to have been there during that time, you know, because it must have been. It's not a joke, Patrick. It's real. They actually ran out of vodka. It's not even a fucking joke. There was that many people that have drank vodka. It was insane. I don't think they had any food. If they had food, it was going to be cocktails. Idiot. Uh, sure they did. I'm sure they did. Kind of weird thing to point out, Patrick, but all right. No, there's not much mean. The counteroffensive of the Ukrainian armed forces is difficult, but the progress achieved given the conditions is impressive. As stated by the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland. Nuland added a significant Russian defense can be overcome with close cooperation between the U.S. and Ukrainian governments. Is Russian last war? Well, no. Well, if they attack NATO, it's going to be the last war of the current generation, yeah. Well, you can't kill off a whole population, you know? You know, probably there's going to be some kind of civil war going on afterwards, right? I mean, we'd have to imagine. Well, they're not running out of people. I think people are misconcepting the fact of how many have died. They're running out of conscripts, is what they're saying. Well, they're not going to be able to restock the country. The reason why Russia went to war with Ukraine in the first place, that was an explosion in the background there. Yeah, the reason why the Russian went to war in the first place was because nobody was gonna live in Russia anymore. Nobody was moving to Russia, which means, you know, most people, you know, realized that the Russian people, they were in decline, you know, and they were set to, you know, lose a lot of people. People were moving out of Russia. People didn't want to be in Russia anymore. So they were set to actually lose more people than what they had, and the amount of young people that live in Russia nowadays is so little. Yeah, well, it's little compared to, because there's not a lot of new people that are getting born, right? You know, and I think the misconception is Russia's not running out of people; they're running out of conscripts. Conscripts is people in the age or eligible age that is able to fight in the war. However, the Russians have previously been seen to bend the age limit of when it comes to war. They've made it so 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds are fighting. There was a picture of an 83-year-old man, a Russian 83-year-old that was on the front line. Yeah, anyone with an opinion, anybody with an opinion has already ended up in jail, Patrick. That's one of the things. Conducting business with people, you know, our policies is that we want to live in a free world. However, we still are conducting business with terrorists and dictators. There was a picture of an 83-year-old man on the front lines of Russia. He was, I don't know if he signed up himself or if he was drafted, but it's a sign, I mean, we're talking 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds, every single one who was eligible, who is in the Russian eyes not demandatory to stay inside Russia, which means, staying inside Russia means, you're how would you put that? You're not a blacksmith. Let's imagine you're back in the medieval. You would talk a good job and do a business with anyone. Yeah. That's my problem with it. I think we need to understand that to put pressure on a dictator is to not do business with them. We need to cut that off. But of course, we're talking about money here, so it's a hard point. But it doesn't matter. That's another talk. What was I? What the fuck was I talking about? Fuck, I forgot. Russia conscripts. Imagine you were in a medieval setting, right? And you were the people who were eligible to go to war was usually peasants or people who didn't have a blacksmith, who didn't have a necessary setting for them to run a war, which means you weren't needed at home for the country to exist. So blacksmith, people who had these skills, who could create the armor, people with skills that are, jobs and skills that are, that we can't live without, or that we can't do war without, has to stay at home. So usually if you were in medieval ages, you didn't want to get drafted. If you were a blacksmith, you would get to stay home because they needed you to be at home so that you could provide the armor that you needed, right? So same scenario here. The Russians are taking away anybody who isn't necessarily necessary for the society to work, art students and stuff like that. Who isn't necessary. We're talking about cashier workers. We're talking about anybody who isn't needed in society to have society function. But everybody that needs to be in society, that has to function. Same thing they did in World War II. If you're a weapons manufacturer, if you built tanks, if you built, all these things, you're not going to be sent to the front line because they need you desperately. If you were a flight engineer, you're not going to be sent to the front line. They need you desperately. They're going to stay. You're going to stay at home. If you want to avoid those drafts, if you commit right now to going into a school, if you commit right now to go into school of becoming a blacksmith or someone who works in metal or anything like that in Russia, you're probably eligible to stay in Russia, which is why so many people have actually started to enlist in these schools, which is fun, So great stuff, right? Who needs an art student? Well, yeah. I mean, it's the ideology of war. You know, the people that we usually see as not necessary for society to function often get sent to war. However, me being a very anti-war uh, promoter, I don't see the point of sending anybody. You know, I don't see the point of pointing out who's necessary or who's not necessary. You know, everybody is in their own individual way makes society works because they not only pay their taxes, they make society work in their own individual ways, and I think we need to respect that in our weird ways, right? I don't want to see a whole I don't want to see a whole entire generation die because some people fucked up, right? There's a lot of people online nowadays that promote, the whole ideology of the factor that if NATO is attacked, we have to go to war immediately. If drone lands on if a drone lands on a territory like it did in Romania, we have to invoke Article 5 and attack Russia. It's not worth a whole entire generation, and a generation in which I am a part of, to waste this generation just so that we can, win a war that, is decided by 30 people, There's 30 people in a room. How many members are there of NATO, right? 24, 25, something like that. Of these 25 countries, there's 25 leaders or something like that. I don't know how many members there are, but the point remains the same. These people decide the fate of millions, I don't want to see a whole generation die because some people couldn't figure out their own stuff. And that's why if you're a president, if you're a leader, right? If you're a leader of a country, having a personal opinion, letting emotions play in within the way of you're going to fight a war because you're mad about somebody said something about you, right? If a leader of another country tells you that you're a shit fucking idiot and that they hate you, you can be eligible to be mad at them. But it is not your decision to go to war against somebody because they hate you. It is if they threaten your people, if they attack your people, the people within your country, that is when you're eligible to go to war. But so many people nowadays, so many leaders let emotions play as a conjurer for going to war because they believe that if their heart is hurt, they should go to war. In fact, a leader should be emotionless. They should have emotions when it comes to to everyday society and everyday work. But when it comes to serious moments, there are benefits of having someone who is not emotional about if somebody says something to them, if somebody's mean to them, right, or rude to them. Understand that everybody is always rude to you because you are who you are. That does not mean that you have to go to war against somebody because you're butthurt. That doesn't work. That's how Putin runs his country. Anybody says anything against him, he attacks them. Putin's mind doesn't run upon, if anybody tells my people that they're going to be attacked, I'm going to attack them first. That's a justifiable thing to do. But he runs upon somebody saying, I hate Putin, and then he's going to attack you. Putin may seem as may have been seen in the past as a strong leader, but he's always let his emotions, rule and dictate however he feels the country needs to be. Let the 30 people go to war. Yeah, let's get these 30 people some guns and see how they feel about firing guns at each other, But nowadays governments are so focused upon it's a reality show. Our government in Denmark right now is a fucking reality show because they're talking bad shit about each other. There's no focus on the public agenda, which is what we need. There's no focus on it because they're so focused on talking bad about each other that they forget that you are in charge of millions of people. Most people in Europe is in charge of million people, right? Millions. Your decisions will shape a future for millions of people. It is not just a fucking game. It is a real situation. You're the leader. If you let emotions control decisions that you're going to make for millions of people, millions, you're not an effective leader, neither are you. You are somebody who's going to fuck things up. You know, it's the personal opinion. A president, a leader should not have opinion. Their only opinion should be the people's opinion. You know, presidents, you know, they have opinions nowadays. Back then, they didn't. Their opinions relies on what the people's opinions are. And the people's opinions is, we don't want a war, you don't go to war. You know? If the people's opinion is, we don't want a war, you don't go to war. Because the people is ultimately the decider of what kind of president you're going to be. Or leader, right? It is you're going to have to sell the war pretty goodly if you're going to have to go to war anyways, right? That's the problem in America right now. Most people don't want to go to war, which is understandable. Most people don't want to go to war. But, yeah. I think it's weird, right? I'll see you later, Patrick. Thank you for stopping by. I think it's weird. You know, I think it's weird that people nowadays are think that, you know, why won't American people accept that we're going to war? Because why would they accept that we're going to war? Nobody likes war, you know. It's weird. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a stepping stone for me as well. Thank you so much for stopping by here today. We're talked about it all. We're talked out. You know, there's not a lot that happened today, but I think I gave you the most of it. So thank you so much for stopping by. And follow up again tomorrow, as we will be going live again. I will be going live again tomorrow and giving you more that's coming in. Thank you so much for hanging out and staying.